My name is David Gaines, and I'm the chairman of the Republican Party here in Franklin County, Georgia. I'm happy to be bringing you the second video in our interview series with the Board of Commissioner candidates running for office here in 2026. Today we're speaking with Kyle Westbrook.
Thank you, David.
Thank you for coming in, Kyle. Kyle's running for county commissioner in the District 4 area. Be sure to check the video description below where you will see Kyle's announcement. One thing that you're going to notice as we go through these videos is that they vary a little bit from person to person. I want to have the chance to interview each candidate, to get to know them as a person, but also to see what part of their platforms are most important to them. Some of the questions will be the same, but others are focused on the issues that the candidates find to be most pressing. So be sure to consult that as we go through the interview, and then also make sure that you review all of the other videos as well so that we can make informed decisions as voters. With that being said, Kyle, why don't you go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself?
So I'm Kyle Westbrook, running for District 4 Commissioner in Franklin County. Currently, I'm a loan officer. I do farm loans with the Georgia Development Authority. I'm also a farmer. I raise beef cattle and poultry in 2 pullet houses. I've owned property in the county since 2010. Been a property taxpayer for over 16 years, right after I got married. I also serve as a coach. I coach baseball, basketball, football, youth sports, so I'm really involved with that. And I also serve on the Franklin County Little League Board of Directors. A little about my family. My parents are Richard and Christy Westbrook of Lavonia. My father runs a metal fabrication business in Lavonia. My mother passed away 2 years ago, and she ran a daycare, Happy Days Child Care Learning Center, for about 15 years in Lavonia. So she raised a lot of kids, in the community. My in-laws are Vernon and Beth Cape of Franklin Springs. They actually live in Hartwell now, but they own businesses in Franklin Springs and Royston. They're in the storage business and rental business. I'm married to Melanie Westbrook. We've been married since 2010, so a little over 16 years. And we live in Sandy Cross community. We have 3 boys, Max, Slate, and Abe. Melanie's a teacher at Franklin County Middle School. She taught there since, I believe, 2008. She taught 6th and 7th grade. The last couple of years, she has moved to a role as an instructional coach. So she works with teachers at the middle school and high school. My kids, they're the joy of our life. We go to Royston Baptist Church, where I've served as a deacon before. We serve on deacon terms there, so right now I'm off term as a deacon. But my kids play sports, that's basically what we do all the time. But, in our spare time, we're at the ball fields usually. But currently, a little more about my history there. I graduated from Franklin County High School in 2004. I graduated from Emmanuel College in 2008 with a degree in business administration. I worked, as soon as I got out of college, the recession hit, and I was lucky to find a job working with AgGeorgia Farm Credit. And I had a pretty good long career there. I worked with Farm Credit as a commercial loan officer for 13 years. And one of the things I take pride in working there was the amount of money and people that I were able to help by lending them money. I had years where I would lend over $50 million. I built a portfolio from about $30 million to $135 million when I left. So, it was really nice to see the people that I helped be able to buy their farm, buy their dream farm, whether they were building poultry houses, buying land, or also building houses, for themselves, that dream home that they always wanted. So I left Farm Credit and took a stint working with my father. So I have some experience in the metal fabrication industry. It's hard work, it's an honest living, but I ended up getting back in lending to make my life a little easier. But yeah, that's a little bit about myself. What I do.
In your statement, you emphasize that you don't see yourself as a traditional politician. What made you decide to step into this role in the race for Board of Commissioners?
Yeah, I don't see myself as a politician. I'm not flashy. I'm not a great public speaker. I don't like attention. But I wanted to run because I have a love for the county, and I want this county to be a place that my children can grow up in and raise a family in. And enjoy, their family, be able to enjoy the same quality of life that my family has. I don't want to see it where we allow developers to come in Franklin County in a couple of years, and in 5-10 years time, if we didn't have proper leadership, they could take over this county and it would be something totally different than what we have right now. So that's a lot of reason is just to help make decisions that will make Franklin County thrive, but at the same time keep Franklin County a place that we all still love and can remember and recognize. Also, I chose to run because you put your reputation on the line, and there's a lot of ups and downs with this. When I first signed up, I was like, it's fine, I won't bother you, Kyle, but some mornings I wake up and I'm like, what were you thinking? I'm just nervous. You don't feel like you're doing enough. Some days I feel great, like hey, I got this. But at the end of the day, if I'm willing to put my reputation on the line to run for office, I hope that other people will too. Maybe there's somebody out there that says, hey, Kyle ran, Kyle won, and I can do it too. And it'll encourage other people to be involved with the community and be willing to serve.
You said you're a first-generation farmer who started raising poultry and cattle right after college. What drew you to farming?
So I wasn't raised on a farm. Riding around as a kid, we lived out in the country, and I always admired the beautiful property and farmland in Franklin County. And I just set a goal for myself that I was like, hey, I think I'd like to be a farmer. I had friends that were raised on farms, and I just enjoy the land, working with livestock. It's peaceful. It's just a different way of life that I really enjoy. And also, I want my kids, it's nice to have your kids raised on a farm where they get those values of hard work. You can't sleep all day if you're on a farm. So, you got to learn to get up and make things happen and work. So that's the main reason.
What would you say to someone who's listening right now who's not a farmer? Maybe they live in an apartment in Lavonia. Maybe they have a house in Gumlog, maybe even a couple of acres in Cannon, and they feel like you might not understand what it's like to be a Franklin County citizen who isn't heavily involved in agriculture. Yeah,
so I definitely get their perspective. My grandparents, they all lived in town when I was a kid, Lavonia and Carnesville. Nobody except my family lived out of the city limits, honestly. So my brother lives in a subdivision in Lavonia. So I get that they're, just as important as a farmer or any other rural citizen in Franklin County. They worry about good jobs. They worry about property taxes. They worry about having things to do, just like everybody else. And I would say that I'm willing to serve you in the same way that I will every other citizen. Just because they live in the city or whatnot doesn't mean that they don't have the same views on things that somebody that lives 10 miles out of town does. I mean, we all like the small town atmosphere. Most people want to keep it that way. So I think there's a lot in common there.
So speaking of the small town atmosphere, you've talked about preserving Franklin County's rural character while supporting local growth. How do you hope to strike that balance?
Yeah, that's a great question. You have to, I guess, stick with the plan. I mean, you have to have areas that are designated for growth that growth's going to target, that you want growth to go to, but you also have to have areas that you protect. So we have to entice businesses around our corridors, our interstate exits, the main highways that run around 85 there, and if you can keep growth there, and you can keep it from being sporadic and spreading all throughout the county and setting a precedent that, hey, we'll let you do anything anywhere, I think that we can still preserve our rural areas and also have new business, jobs, and industry come in the right places in the county. It just has to be proper planning, and you have to stick with your beliefs and not set a precedent to do something otherwise.
You, in that regard, you mentioned leveraging the I-85 corridor for local businesses instead of out-of-town developers. Tell me why that's central to your platform and how you hope to accomplish that.
Yeah, so, I would much rather see our local businesses be able to expand. They're the ones that pour into our community and sponsor our youth, sponsor events, things like that. They're the ones that care about the community. And I would like to see Franklin County give them incentives, whether it's some kind of a tax break or work with the chamber or the IBA to come up with solutions to help them find infrastructure and expand or start a business versus Franklin County targeting some mega corporation and giving them a tax break. So I think that our local businesses should be treated with more attention than we give to out-of-town corporations, basically.
You mentioned working with the Board of Education to make decisions that would have a positive effect on property taxes and schools. What ideas do you have that would bring relief to property owners, but also ensure our educators have the resources they need to educate the children of Franklin County?
Yeah, so school safety is a big issue. I want to work, if I'm elected, I want to work with the Sheriff Department to be sure that, that our schools are safe. Me and my wife have 3 children in the Franklin County school system, and that's a constant worry of everybody, that something happens. And, there's more to school safety than an intruder. But I would work with the Sheriff's Department to be sure that, we got metal detectors, that's great, but we need to be sure that somebody's watching these schools, our doors stay locked, we're not just letting anybody come in and out of the school, and just do the best we can for school safety. As far as working with the Board of Education goes, the Board of Education and the Board of Commissioners has to work together because, if we have a major housing development come in, we don't want to overwhelm our schools. We don't want to do something that's, going to be make us have to, put trailers and start stacking kids all over the place out in mobile homes. We want to be sure that, the school system's ready for whatever's coming. And we also got to realize that, if there's a bunch of houses built and nothing's there to back it, such as industry, that household, the taxes they pay are not going to be enough to cover the education for those kids. So it's going to make everybody's property taxes go up. So it's important that we work with the Board of Education so that everybody's on the same page and we have this same plan for growth that we can all get behind and back each other up.
If you were elected, what would be one early win or tangible step that you'd push for in the first year?
I would say school safety. That would be a major thing. Like I just said, working with the Sheriff's Department to be sure schools are safe and going above and beyond there. Also fixing our water problem. Right now we're searching for water. We have to figure that out. We have to make a plan for the future with our water needs, and we have to be sure that we're making a plan that's going to fit the future comprehensive plan of the county and where we want these things to go. But water's a major issue. I mean, people have to have water. Businesses, poultry farms, we need water. We need it in the right places, and we got to figure it out because, we can't have people running out of water in the summer and not being able to take a shower, fill their pool up, things like that. So those would probably be the 2 biggest issues that I feel like I could tackle within the first year.
Let's imagine it's 2030 and you're ending your first term as commissioner. What do you hope Franklin County looks like?
I would really like for it to look similar to the way it does now. We have a population of around 24,000. I don't want to see our population just explode, but a thriving rural community can't lose population either. I mean, we can't go negative. But I would like to see, a couple of industries in here with some good jobs. But I would also like to drive down the road and say, hey, we still have a beautiful rural county, that we can, we've done things right. We've stuck to our plan, and we've done some things to help the economy, but we also haven't jeopardized our character.
Is there anything that we haven't discussed that you want voters to know about who Kyle Westbrook is and how you would operate as a commissioner?
I'd just like for everybody to know that, I'm an approachable person. I'm not going to be somebody when in office that hides. I'm not going to, ignore the needs. I'm going to answer the phone. I'll work with anybody. I'm willing to try to get along with anybody, and that's what I want to do. I don't have a campaign manager. Me and my wife are running my campaign. So, if you don't think I'm doing enough, I promise you I'm trying. I really want this job, and just reach out to me if anybody has any questions. I'd like for them to call me. My number is 706-491-3601. My email is kwstbrk@gmail.com. And I just want to be that approachable person that anybody feels like they can call and talk to, because I'm open to anything. I want to hear ideas. I want to hear views. I want to, whether I agree with you or not, I'll talk to you, and I'm willing to work for solutions that make everybody happy and find common ground.
Kyle, thank you for coming out today.
Thank you, David.
And thank you for being willing to run for office. As we've discussed with some of the other candidates, it takes a lot of time, effort, energy, sacrifice. It takes a lot from the family as well to do this. And so on behalf of the community and the viewers at home, we'd like to thank you for making the sacrifice to be willing to lead our community. And I'd also like to thank the viewer as well. If you watch this to the end, then you're the kind of person who cares a lot about our community. And so we're grateful for you and your investment and engagement with what we're doing here in Franklin County. To that end, we'd like to invite you to our forum on April 25th at the Carnesville Community Center at 3 p.m. In the video description, you'll see an email address where you can submit questions that can be asked of Kyle or any of the other candidates. If you live in an area that the candidates aren't able to visit, or you're not able to get in touch with them, this is a time where you know that you can sit down with them, talk to them, hear their plan for Franklin County, shake their hands, and ask them the questions yourself. We would also encourage you to follow our social media, specifically our Facebook page, for important updates regarding the election, but also with what we're doing here in Franklin County to strengthen the Republican Party. This is a big part of the vision that we have for Franklin County, where the Republican Party fosters engagement between the people and its elected representatives, specifically Republicans. We want to see conservative values enacted here locally at the county level, but also at the state and federal level. And so if you want to help us succeed in that role, we're growing rapidly, but we would always love new members. And we're working to make sure that we have good representation in Atlanta and in Washington, D.C., to make sure that those politicians and those representatives know who you are, the values that matter to us, and make sure that you, the citizen of Franklin County, has adequate and appropriate representation, people that reflect you and your values here at the local level, at the state level, and then also at the federal level. So with that, we look forward to seeing you in our next video tomorrow. Make sure that you watch all of them so that you can make informed decisions about the candidates. And then we'll see all of you on April 25th at 3 p.m. at the Carnesville Community Center.